And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Friday, May 10th. I am the host for today's program, Paul Demain, and many of the stories read here can also be found in our publication, News from Indian Country, or online at IndianCountryNews.com. And here are some of the news stories for the day. Governor Andrew Cuomo said this week that New York's Indian casinos could face competition in their backyards if talks with tribes over this gambling expansion proposal fail to yield results soon. Cuomo's harder public stance with the tribes comes as he tries to shepherd his proposal to bring 3 Las Vegas casinos in upstate New York at yet-to-be-identified locations. Lawmakers are considering legislation and public referendums to change New York's constitution to allow non-Indian casinos, which could be on the ballot as early as November. 3 of the 6 upstate regions Cuomo is looking at already have Indian casinos. The governor said he would not allow a new casino to operate in a region where there's already a casino run by a tribe in good standing with the state. But that could change for tribes that failed to resolve issues with the state in current round of talks. The 3 affiliated tribes have broken ground for a $450 million oil refinery on the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation in northwestern North Dakota. The Thunder Butte Petroleum Services Refinery will be constructed in 4 phases over 2 years. A ceremonial groundbreaking was held this week after more than a decade of planning, according to the Forum and Minot Daily News. Construction is expected to begin in August. We grew up poor. We were lucky if we had a pair of clean overalls, Tribal Chairman Tex Hall said, but our parents made sure we went to school and got educated. They did the best they could for us. The refinery near the town of Makoti will have the capacity to process up to 20,000 barrels of Bacan crude per day into diesel fuel and other products. It will create as many as 100 full-time jobs. The 2013 Chickasaw Hall of Fame inductees are Betty Ruth Kemp of Norman, Colbert Latimer Bud Baker of Marco Island, Florida, Jean Nashoba Thompson of Austin, Texas, Thomas Benjamin Thompson Sr., and Benson Pikey. The Hall of Fame ceremonies were held May 7th at Riverwind Showplace Theater in Norman, Oklahoma, with just a short note for some people who made huge contributions to the Chickasaw history. Betty Ruth Kemp had dedicated her life and career to protecting and preserving ancient archives and serving as a modern-day Chickasaw conduit between the southeastern homelands and Oklahoma. Retired U.S. Army Colonel Jean Nashoba Thompson joined the Oklahoma National Guard at the age of 16 and retired in 1983. He was awarded the Defense Superior Service Medal, presented to senior officers who performed superior meritorious service in a position of significant responsibility. Born in 1924 to Colbert Latimer Baker and Martha Lewis Brunt, Colbert Latimer Bud Baker Jr. distinguished himself in his profession in military service and through outstanding contributions to the Chickasaw Nation. Benson Pikey was known as a man of integrity embodied with what it means to be Chickasaw. Born in Mississippi about 1837, Mr. Pikey came to Indian Territory during the time of the Chickasaw removal. Active in the Chickasaw House of Representatives, Mr. Pikey was elected as a representative prior to the war between the states and honorably served as Speaker of the House. The last elected treasurer of the Chickasaw Nation, Thomas Benjamin Thompson Sr., was best known for working with former Chickasaw Nation Governor Douglas H. Johnson to protect the Chickasaw people during the years immediately after Oklahoma's statehood. Established in 1987, the Chickasaw Nation Hall of Fame honors Chickasaws who have made significant contributions to Chickasaw people or the Native community. President Obama has appointed Leonard Forsman as member of the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation. Forsman is chairman of the Suquamish tribe, a position he has held since the year 2005. Previously, he was a research archaeologist for Larson Anthropological Archaeological Services in Seattle, Washington from 19 1992 to 2003. From 1984 to 1990, he was director of the Suquamish Museum in Suquamish, Washington, and has served on the museum board of directors since 2010. He has been vice president of the Washington Indian Gaming Association in 2010 and has been a member of the Washington State Historical Society board since 2007, the Suquamish Tribocultural Cooperative Committee since 2006, and the Tribal Leaders Congress on Education since the year 2005. Tribes on 2 Montana reservations have been awarded a combined $600,000 under a federal program to clean up contaminated properties. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency announcement was part of a $62 million in grants awarded nationwide. The Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes will get more than $400,000 to assess contamination at a dozen or more sites. Those include former gas stations, dumps, junkyards, and mill sites where soil and groundwater contamination prevent redevelopment. The Fort Peck, Assiniboine, and Sioux tribes will get $200,000 to clean up the old Poplar Airport site in Poplar, Montana, which was contaminated with pesticides and metals because it was used for crop dusting. When the cleanup is done, the tribes plan to redevelop the land for commercial use, tribal housing, and green space. The Lac Courte Oreilles Harvest and Education Camp is now open in the Penokee Range of northern Wisconsin on the site of a 22-mile-long open-pit mine that all of Wisconsin's 11 tribes and many northern Wisconsin citizens oppose. The camp opened up 2 weeks before a huge gathering of tribal and non-tribal activists is planned for Copper Falls State Park for the Memorial Day weekend to discuss efforts to establish the Penokee Range as a National Heritage Park of ancient mining ruins and current pristine beauty. Citizens are currently attempting to recruit Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to follow in the footsteps of a historical 1963 visit by his uncle, John F. Kennedy, then on the campaign trail, who noted that Lake Superior and its watersheds like the Penokee Range are some of Wisconsin's most valuable gifts. The activity is being tweeted and otherwise tagged at #RFK Visit Penokee Hills. And that's going to be another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to say miigwech for joining with us and have a good weekend.